shelter, and more, visit Mutual Aid LA Network on Instagram. Praying for LA and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. What a week we had last week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. What a week we had last week. On the life of Dr. Howard Thurman. On Tuesday, we had Dr. Aubrey Hendricks, who wrote the book, The Politics of Jesus, and his analysis of what Christians and Christian evangelical change the course of our nation matters in this hour. On Wednesday, we had Dr. Bill Howard. Dr. Bill Howard talked with us about ecumenical groups and how to work across the aisle, spiritually, theologically, politically, with groups of different interests to accomplish our goals. On Thursday, we had Dr. Robert Franklin from Emory University, the author of Moral Leadership, to talk about the idea of what constitutes moral leadership, to establish a plumb line for what constitutes moral leadership. And then on Friday, we ended the series with Dr. James Forbes, who took us on a deep spiritual dive into the questions that plague a despiritualized nation. Just yesterday, Attorney Barbara Arnwine, constitutional scholar, thinker, activist, really a mother of the modern movement, will be leading a significant resistance in the era that will be inaugurated on January 20th. We've been through a lot in the last week, and intellectually, I'm a little exhausted. So I got my best friend on the phone, the stress reliever, none other than George Wilbon. We're going to have some fun today. George Wilbon is a Chicago native who got his big comedy break at the House MC, all jokes aside, in 1992 as the MC, which was Chicago's first primarily African-American comedy club. He shared the stage with his befriended comedy guests such as Jamie Foxx, Bernie Mac, and Steve Harvey, just to name a few. George's overwhelming success at All Jokes Aside propelled him into many television opportunities, such as Def Comedy Jam, BET's Comic View, Showtime and Reality, Apollo, Comedy Central, and TV One. After years of ripping the stage and providing comic relief, fans across the country named and dubbed George the Stress Reliever. And that's exactly what we're going to get. George Wilbon, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Man, thank you so much, Jesse Jr. It's Wilborn. Michael Wilbon is way more famous with a whole lot more money.
Well, you know what? I asked you to send me your bio, and it had 4 pictures. It had 4 pictures of yourself before I could even get to the bio.
Man, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor, man. Obviously, you know, we go back, man, like old cars, like
decades. Hey, George, listen, man. I got up this morning to a news article that Michelle Obama is not going to the president's inauguration.
Are you
what
surprised?
What are your thoughts about that?
Are you surprised? Listen, she's not playing with it, okay? She said, "I'll show her time. This vacation, this is an extended vacation." She told y'all. Is she still in Hawaii? That's quite a luau that she's at. I'm not surprised, and I don't think anybody else. She's like, I can't play this, I can't fake this. You know, let's get it on with the show. You know, I'm sure she know the president. You know, she loved Jimmy Carter and had the greatest amount of respect for him. But she's like, I don't blame her. She's probably tapped out. Who could blame her?
George, there's a lot of body language. When I looked at President Carter's memorial, and I had known Jimmy Carter since I was just a child when he first got elected, and had the opportunity of meeting him in the White House. George, I see the body language at the Carter funeral. I see the resistance that some people are already exhibiting, the relationship and the language between Vice President Harris and her husband not wanting to look over, you know, their shoulders at who was sitting behind them. So much is communicated.
I thought they had a crook in their neck. I was something. Every time they went towards the Trump, they went
So,
George, what's wrong with that?
In your business, I mean, I mean, body language matters.
It does. It does. It says a lot. And you had a whole circular say of body language, man. The whole group, all of the presidents and their wives, they all you could feel it, and the old saying, you can cut it with a knife. All of that was watching and viewing that, I believe, saw that. And comedically, obviously, this. A lot of people had fun trying to dub what those conversations was going like. But it seemed like Trump certainly was bugging the hell out of Obama. If nothing, if we don't know nothing else, he was bugging the hell out of Obama. He was being kind about it.
It was really interesting when I think back about that. Dr. Forbes talked this week about those eulogies about character and those eulogies about who Jimmy Carter was as president of the United States and who he was when he was no longer president of the United States. When we come forward, we're going to ask some questions of George Wilbon on the question of character and whether or not President Donald Trump, President-elect Trump, actually might have seen himself in a new future. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We'll be right back.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We gon' be alright.
KBLA Talk 1580 is amplifying Black voices and spotlighting our untold stories. I'm Dominique DePrima. Join me Thursday from 6 to 9 a.m. as we broadcast live from the Altadena, Pasadena area. Due to the National Guard closing down this section, we will not be at Perry's Joint. Our new location is the Pasadena Church East Campus at 425 Sierra Madre Villa. We'll be covering the individuals and families impacted by the Altadena Eaton fire. Hear from community leaders and those who have suffered losses that must not be forgotten. So join us Thursday at the Pasadena Church East Campus at 425 Sierra Madre Villa. Together we can help them rebuild and recover. Together we are LA Strong, LA United. With your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
Slow it down. Get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Here they come, y'all. Here they come. Here they come, y'all. Here they come.
Get out the way. Ooh.
First things first with Dominique DePrima at 6 a.m. Tavis Smiley at 9 a.m. Truth Time with Dr. Cornell West and Nina Turner at 12 noon. Here they come, y'all. Here they come. Here they come, y'all. Here they come.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show at 1 p.m. The D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show at 2 p.m. A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nee Quarterly Forte at 4 p.m. Here they come, y'all. Here they come. Here they come, y'all. Here they come.
Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
Tune in weekdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the Talk of the Town. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Here they come, y'all. Here they come.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Here we come, y'all. Here we come. Here we come, y'all. Here we come. Dominique DePrima at 6 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m., followed by Tavis Smiley followed by Truth Time with Dr. Cornell West and
Come on
Nina
now.
Turner. Here they come, y'all.
What?
Here they
Come on
come.
now.
Here they come with Jesse Jackson Jr. from
Whoa,
1 to 2. And George Wilborn, if he's
Come
going
on
to
now.
hang, Will Born going to hang with me. And after George Wilborn and Jesse Jackson Jr., here comes Dr. D.L. Hughley. Here they come, y'all. Here they come.
Ooh,
And
that's
our
nasty.
White House correspondent, Nee Cordelay Corte. Here they come, y'all.
Let's
Here they
go.
Hey, George.
Hey,
Listen, man, let me ask you a
that's a hell
question.
of a
Is there
lineup.
any chance? Is there any chance that Donald Trump saw his own fate, that he had to wrestle with what people were saying about Jimmy Carter, and that in his own mind, maybe he was wondering whether or not we're going to be outside picketing, protesting, sitting in, carrying signs.
Hey, listen, Jesse, as you know, everyone has a right to their free speech. So don't be surprised if he have a couple of drums out there being beat. But to answer your question, I think it's impossible for him not to. As you very well know, a president has to go through this procedure where they tell what their funeral is supposed to be like, or what they want it to be like, what the guests, who the best, and they have to rehearse this and they have to go over this, many times through their presidency. So I think there probably was a real moment of clarity where he was thinking, okay, what are people and who are the people that are going to be speaking and eulogizing me? And what are those names look like? Elon Musk is, yeah, you got, Steve Bannon, he gonna be there. Roger Stone, he gonna have something to say.
A song by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
You know you're gonna get a song. You know we're gonna get a song. So I think it's impossible for him to not, and especially the type of things, I remember as a young man, Jimmy Carter being one of the first presidents that I understood and started getting my political chops around, because I was old enough and I was affected enough. So I thought at the time that I got engaged at a very young age. And Jimmy Carter was one of the first presidents, although he was, that I remember, shunned and almost dissed, and thought of as not an intelligent peanut farmer from Georgia, and ended up being this phenomenal force in our political history. So the things that were being said, Junior, about this man at his funeral were from the heart. This man touched people from a spiritual level, from a cultural level for Black people who they knew how much that man had went out on the line when it wasn't popular to do things for people who look like us. So yeah, Trump had to be looking like who in the hell is going to say what about me? That's why he kept going to Obama. Man, well, who you think I could get? Do you think I can? I don't know, bro. I don't know who you could get.
I think we know Michelle Obama's not coming.
Man, please, are you kidding me? She is not playing. She like, I won't come to an inauguration or a funeral. So you don't play with her.
I don't think Kamala Harris and her husband are coming.
Man, you talk about crook necks. I told you they both had crook necks. They wouldn't look at him at this. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a lot of no shows, man.
I don't think the Black Caucus is coming.
You don't think the Black Caucus is coming?
Man, listen. So I mean, I think that there are constraints on a person's character, right? There's only so far we're willing to go.
Sure.
We want to make a contribution. We want to be remembered. And the politics notwithstanding, there is a level of human decency that is required in our dialogue and in our discourse. And I think that, this idea of beginning a presidency with retribution, where you're talking about preemptively pardoning people who haven't even been charged, because every Democrat who's ever said anything about him is fearful.
Yeah.
And how is it that we can be fearful of our own leader as a nation? I'm no big fan of Reagan.
Sure. Oh,
I was no big fan, and I had the pleasure of meeting President Reagan. I was no big fan of his vice president, George Herbert Walker Bush. He used to
Absolutely.
jog around the track at my high school. I would jog around it sometimes with the Secret Service. I met George W. in the
How many
White House.
times they call the police on you?
You're wrong for that, George. But you know what? Even though we had disagreements and we agreed to be disagreeable,
Sure.
I mean, there just seems like this president is just incapable of a willingness to try and reach out, not always on his own terms, but on the terms of just basic civility.
You know, what when you talk about that, Jesse, God is the creator of life, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And there's a lack of spirituality in people, and perhaps that ever been shown in President Trump, President-elect Trump. There's a lack of empathy when it comes to disasters, when it comes to the plight of people who are disenfranchised or who are just struggling. There's a true disconnect that may stem from a lack of spirituality. I mean, let's not forget the man held the Bible up backwards, so I don't know how just how in tune he is with those things. And a president, I believe, and some of those presidents, like even Reagan, they had a spiritual connection and a caringness about humanity that you just don't see, or is not connected with a huge portion of this country. He obviously connects with many people, but I don't know if that connection is from a sincere. I think this person cares about me as a human to human. I just don't see that.
And, I mean, he hasn't even been sworn in as president yet. And now we're looking at the possibility, at least, sometimes if you tell people a story enough times, they start believing
They're
it.
believing it, of course.
Yeah, so we've been fighting for DC
almost like his
statehood.
hair. Almost like his hair. If you see it enough times, you'll really believe it's actually hair. I don't believe that. I believe his hair been gone for years. Okay, I believe it's cotton candy. That's what I believe. I think he got a cotton candy machine, and it'll be in the White House. He'll have one. He put his hand in there. He'll whip it around and just.
So George, okay, great. You listen. You really messed me up. It made me lose my train of thought.
Because you didn't know it was cotton candy.
Check this out. In this era, George, in this
Yes.
era, before mental health was like an issue for people, where there was health coverage and you could actually go see a professional. A lot of our people went to church on Sunday mornings and they dropped their burden, if you will, at the altar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pastor's role was to help get us through another week.
No doubt.
And encourage us to leave whatever we going through right here on the altar, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
That don't cost nothing. That don't cost nothing but tithes and offering. It might cost nothing tithes and offering, but don't cost what a professional might be.
Absolutely.
But then on the other side, there are comedians like you in your profession who are the stress relievers. I mean, we've got to laugh through some of the absurdity of this, George. Tell me how you provide therapy for people.
I'll tell you, and I'll be honest with you. I've been doing this a very long time, and I've been doing it at a very high level, and I'm very grateful for that. But I don't know if I remember more at the time in my career where I can feel the need for laughter the way I do now. That's why I said a resurgence of comedians like myself who've been around for quite a while and who do comedy a certain way. We don't need chuckles right now. You need that hard, gut-lifting laugh, and you need your makeup running and your Beijing dripping down. We need to be sweating while we laugh, because it's just that severe to some people and the plight that they foresee for the next 4 years. So you're right. The old saying and the old adage that, you sometimes you laugh to keep from crying. There's a huge contingency, a huge group of people who are in that mental space, and they are depending on comedians like myself and even our political figures like yourself to have a sense of humor in some of this, because some of it's going to be just that insane and laughable, that the best thing probably to do at some of what's coming up is to laugh at it.
I mean, I don't know a better remedy, a better therapy than
Yes.
a laugh ministry, a
Yes.
comedy ministry, because it just
Absolutely.
makes sense
Yeah.
that people are going to be in a lot of pain.
You touched that earlier, man. I've been saying it, to my old lady Portia for years that I believe that there's a mental health crisis in this country. That's why I've tried to connect, my stress relieving brand of comedy with, mental health, because this is mentally the next 4 years is really scaring the hell out of people. Okay, and they don't know how what to expect. We know how wild of a ride it was before, so comedy, I think, is going to play a huge part in a lot of our lives. Not to be, laughing it off or thinking it as of a joke, but as a remedy to stay sane and keep our mental capacity where it needs to be.
So one of the reasons I'm excited that you are a guest and hopefully you will be a regular contributor on our show is because on the other side of the comedian George Wilborn, there is someone who's given some thought to the idea that the range of human emotions are also part of the process. I mean, you
Yes,
follow the news.
yes,
By the time your audience is sitting in front of you, you know what kind of day they've had. So
yes.
you know who's heckling, and you know who to light into them because they driving the show. You wasn't planning that with your routine, but they came with the show. So
Yeah.
George, my question is laughter and this therapeutic process
Mhm.
turning very serious political issues into something laughable,
Sure.
like we're going to take on Greenland. We're going to make Canada the 51st state. Or Jimmy Carter signed the Panamanian Canal Treaty, and now he's going to go take it back.
Oh man.
I mean, that's outrageous.
Those are outrageous, and those are the laughable type of things that I said that, don't let that get in your head or stuff like that. That's like if you went to a carnival, you know what I'm saying, and you go into the booth, and you got this strange man, you got the oversized guy, and you got the mirrors, the crazy man. For certain things that are ridiculous. So I'm hoping that people don't take some of those things, and they do take some of those things to heart and believe that they're actually, but some things are just actually idiotic and ridiculous for us to even believe will really come into fruition. It's going to be interesting, man. Jesse Jr. We're seeing, not even the tip of the iceberg, and confirmations are happening as we speak. And the people that he's picking, that there's going to be a lot of comedy in that as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I do have to ask the question about what your thoughts are about the Elon Musks, these kind of guys outside of the government, but have
Mhm.
his ear. It's like, where is the accountability and how do we address that as serious people and as comedians?
Yeah, well, it's difficult, because how did they get in there? Well, I mean, even you mentioned Ronald Reagan earlier. So we got used to stars, we got used to former actors and all that, but Trump is taking it to a new level with the people that he has around him now. And I don't know how serious you're taking it, and I don't know how like the guardrails now for me are gone. That's more alarming to me than anything. When he was president last time, you had a few people that were there that would said, absolutely not. I'm not letting this go down. I'll risk my whole career stopping this. And now you have, Kukla, Fran, and Ali. You got, Mo Curley and Larry, you know, next up, from the Oval Office. So, I think people will lash back and respond if in the next couple of years as things change. I think the Senate race is going to be important, in a couple of years, and I think the appointments of judges that the President Biden has appointed thus far eventually will have an effect, but it's gonna be a wild and crazy ride. You see the people who you picking. You know, I'm surprised that Kid Rock ain't got a position. Oh, I better be quiet. That might be in the making.
He sent Herschel Walker to the Bahamas as the ambassador.
First of all,
this out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I grew up with Herschel. All right, and I'm down in the Atlanta area. Okay, so I let me explain something to you. I used to listen and watch this man play football, but when that Senate race a couple of years ago came, I almost didn't know who we was talking to. You remember this commercial? I'm in Herschel Walker. Remember me? I used to play football, right? I was running and running and running. Now I'm running again. So I said, wait a minute. It dawned on me that Herschel Walker is speaking in all consonants. He's not using no vowels. And that's what it is. So
when we come forward, this is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is George Wilborn, one of the funniest men alive. He's going to be a regular on our show when we come forward on Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Biden announced a one-time $770 payment for residents affected by the LA wildfires through FEMA's Serious Needs Assistance Program. Joined by Vice President Harris and FEMA officials, he addressed the rising death toll with Governor Newsom warning it could climb further. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is dismissing a poll showing former Governor Andrew Cuomo leading him by 20 points as the favorite future leader of the city, according to Politico. A rally at Allentown City Hall in Pennsylvania is demanding an FBI hate crime investigation after a Black employee found a noose on their desk. Protesters also called for action against workplace racism and a reopened discrimination probe. And this Monday is a fee-free day at National Park Service sites in celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That means all National Park Service sites will be free to visit. The next fee-free day is April 19th, the first day of the National Park Week. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Count on Lowe's to lend a hand to prepare, recover, and rebuild during the wildfires. Lowe's is part of your neighborhood and want to make sure you have the supplies you need when you need them. Visit Lowe's in store or online to get emergency supplies now and learn about relief efforts in your area.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Very impressive performance by the Rams Monday night in the NFL playoffs. They dominated Minnesota with a 27-9 win in Glendale, Arizona. The Rams defense was lit. A playoff record 9 sacks, an interception, and a strip sack fumble that turned into a 57-yard touchdown for rookie defensive end Jared Verse. The Rams play at Philadelphia Sunday at noon. The Lakers, playing their first game in 6 days, lost at home to San Antonio 126-102. Before the game, the Lakers made an $8 million pledge to relief efforts in the battle against the wildfires in LA County. The Clippers beat Miami 109-98. Fans entering the Intuit Dome in Inglewood were given towels with the words LA Strong. Keep your radar up on this situation. Colorado football coach Deion Sanders confirmed that he had a conversation Monday with Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Jones is looking for a new coach. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way Black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
When we moved to the States, I kind of had no cultural identity. Smoking was sort of synonymous with being cool. That is just not a life I want to show my daughter. I don't want her to be controlled the way that I was, but she's not interested. She doesn't associate smoking with being cool.
Californians are beating big tobacco. You can too. For free support, text Kick Nicotine to 66819 today.
You can do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name? Let me talk to you. Let me buy you a drink.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is George Wilborn, one of the funniest men who's ever lived. George, as you know, at this hour, we are live in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And obviously our thoughts and prayers are there, but there must be some concerns about the nature of the ecological disaster and the very nature of the humanitarian crisis that the fires are creating. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. Obviously, the first and foremost thing is trying to preserve the life that, obviously just so many lives were affected, but preserve as much life as possible was what we were all hoping and still hoping for. But the scope of the disaster, and I lived in LA for some years when I, earlier in my career and took my acting coaching and auditioning and stuff right there in the Valley. And so there's always been a sense of how disastrous that part of the country is, but for it to reach the level of devastation that it has and affected so many people, Jesse, to be honest with you, you're hoping, and there's no laughter involved. You're just hoping that, the government, will step up in a way that's, going to be unprecedented. It will have to be because of the level of devastation, that it's causing, So our prayers obviously go out to our many friends out there, as you know, and you check on each other, and just it's a time when you really kind of hold on to the people close to you, and if you survived it, you have a inkling in your heart, you feel it in your heart that you want to help those who have not.
I think, George, that's the right tone. The political sniping that's going on back and forth between President-elect Trump and the governor, Gavin Newsom, the attacks on the mayor of the city as if there was something that she could have done to avert the fire and the crisis, or even the budget cuts in the city, however ill-timed they weren't the kind of decisions that were made against the people themselves, albeit some of the decisions were obviously very difficult. And so, yes, our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Los Angeles. The entire nation is watching. Even in these tragedies, like what's taking place in Los Angeles, these tragedies also provide an opportunity to build community.
Sure.
There is a lot of help that's going into the Los Angeles area right now, not only from Los Angelinos, but from people around the country, offers
Absolutely.
from other countries to bring in firefighters and to use equipment from various states to assist in this disaster. It's almost as if, these moments of devastation and tragedy force us to think about what it means to be an American, what
Absolutely.
it means to be a neighbor, and what
Yes.
it means to come together.
It always has, all of these disasters, even in our past, be it 9/11 or what it may be, that galvanizes us as a country. That's when, unfortunately, some of the times we shine the brightest and we are the fairest to each other, where it's just about a human being. It's just about a child that, needs some food and needs some clothes. That strips down, a lot of the politics, if you will, that go along and with our country and with our society. So it is good to see from people all across the country, doing what they can. And we might want to rethink that deportation law, as those Mexican firefighters have been quite helpful in this process. Very happily,
Absolutely.
as well as some of those incarcerated men who are also out there on the front lines. Perhaps a second chance it should be looking at for them as well. So it's going to be a long haul, as we know. But I think if we put our, like you were saying, put the civil part of yourself, let that shine, and I think that's what we're seeing more than anything, and what we should see at this point, in this disaster. I just hope that continues to the point where we've rebuilt, a place that meant so much to so many people.
Well, here at KBLA, we are standing with the people of Los Angeles as they struggle with asphyxiation, they struggle with the smoke, they struggle with the consequences of this tragic disaster. We're encouraging civility at every level. We are already a divided nation. We are divided by blue and red. We're divided by counties versus cities. We're divided by sports teams.
Yes.
we
definitely are.
We're divided by sports teams. But unfortunately, towards a more perfect union, it seems that, these national tragedies, these national mourning events, when people lose their lives unnecessarily to senseless violence or to shooting, or to even assassination attempts,
Absolutely.
we stop and we pause for a moment and we ask ourselves some very difficult questions. What kind of nation are we building? And it also takes place on an elevator. Everybody get on the elevator and they look ahead. Don't nobody want to say hello. You ain't never been closer to somebody than when you with them on the elevator. You don't say hi to them or nothing.
Right. You think you back in the '60s when a black man used to get on the white elevator at the downtown New York? What they doing on here?
My job is to push the buttons.
I'm not the operator. I'm going the same place you going. No, I think it is.
Our thoughts and our prayers go out to the people of LA. Let me,
absolutely.
We're going to come forward in a minute, but let me just raise this question with you.
Mm-hmm.
I have done some writing on the idea that, George, in every life, there is some shame, there's some blame, there's some guilt, and there's some resentments and regrets. So it's like a cycle, right? If you can see someone's shame, then you know there's some blame and guilt present.
Of course.
If you hear someone always blaming everybody, well, then there's some shame and guilt present.
Sure.
If you know somebody's guilty, then there's also some shame and blame present. One of the things that greatly challenged me about the first administration of Donald Trump was that he seemed to never accept responsibility for anything. He never accepted responsibility for anything on The Apprentice. It was always, let me blame this guy, you're fired. I'm going to blame this cabinet secretary, you're fired. It's not my fault. It's never his fault. And then you've got other presidents who said, but the buck stops here. But the buck stops here. And we need a system, in my opinion, where the buck has to stop somewhere to alleviate the fears and the concerns of the people.
No, I totally agree. And that's a very dangerous situation. We teach our kids at a very early age to hold themselves accountable. If you are the one that wrote on the crayon on the wall, then you got to hold yourself accountable and get the sponge or whatever your punishment for that is. And as Americans, you're right to see the leader of the free world and the leader of this country never hold themselves accountable. Like any relationship you've ever been in for any length of time, there's going to be some times where you're going to say, you know what, man, that was on me. That was my bad, or when it's glaring, and even if you didn't want to admit it, but the evidence and the proof is right there for people to see. That's your opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, that's my bad. I did that one, and that, builds credibility and respect, I believe, from any individual. So to see a president like you said, to never display that is beyond disheartening. I think it's dangerous.
I think you're absolutely right, and I'm hoping and I'm praying. I began the show with a spiritual foundation last week of some fairly significant clergymen, doctors, and scholars who've wrestled with these questions of what it means to be a people whose back is against the wall. A question raised by Dr. Howard Thurman when he positioned Jesus's ministry in the first century as a subject of Rome, a colonized subject. And so there is this sense that our backs are against the wall.
Yes.
There is this sense that even as a minority in that context, that how we treat each other, looking for the shame, looking for the blame, looking for the guilt, understanding the resentments and regrets, offering forgiveness, love and opportunity and hope and a way out of one's circumstance really does matter, and it's a different kind of ministry.
Yeah.
George, when we come forward with George Wilbon on KBLA Talk 1580, we are going to explore the Dr. King holiday falling on the same day as the inauguration of Donald John Trump.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2024, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-652-1714. That's 800-652-1714. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-652-1714 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. and welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is none other than comedian George Wilborn. George, before I ask you this question, I want to let our listeners know that tomorrow my very special guest will be attorney Michael Cohen. Attorney Cohen, the fixer for President Donald Trump, will be with us for 1 hour. He wants a presidential pardon from Joe Biden. Full, unconditional, complete pardon for his offenses because he believes he will be targeted by the incoming administration. He will be our special guest tomorrow.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you this question about something I received in the mail just the other day. Madison County Chancery Courthouse and county offices will be closed on Monday, January 20th, 2025, in observance holiday of Robert E. Lee and Martin Luther King Jr. Business hours will resume Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. Now, in some parts of the country, they'll be commemorating Robert E. Lee Day.
You better know they will.
On the same day.
You got doggone right there, Jesse. You got doggone
King's
right.
birthday falls on the same day at 96 years old as the election of Donald Trump. Would you be surprised if Donald Trump gave a speech titled, "I Have a Dream," in his inauguration address?
No, I think he would be like, "I have a white dream." I think it's almost like a white Christmas, you know. But it's like,
George, are we hopelessly divided?
Well, I'll say this to you, Jesse Jackson Jr. Your father, the great Jesse Jackson Sr., was one of the first people to give people in our community and across this country hope. So when you say hopeless, I think about your father. I think about our former President Barack Obama and how he was able to bring about a universal feeling of hope that crossed the aisles, that also shattered all type of racial divides that we may have and are part of the fabric of this country. So when you believe in Jesus Christ and he's your savior, you're not afraid to say that, and you're unapologetic about that, then it's hard to lose and to say something is hopeless, because we know that any time with a swipe of a finger, Jesus Christ can change it. God can change it. So I think we are far divided than I've ever seen in my lifetime. But I'm cautious. I'm comedically and cautious about using the word hopeless.
I was the guest speaker at the Alpha Phi Alpha Howard County, Baltimore chapter of their fraternity just this past Saturday on the commemoration and for the commemoration of the 96th birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. I shared with them that I had spoken with Dr. Fluker, Dr. Hendricks, Dr. Howard, Dr. Franklin, Dr. Forbes, and I asked all of them the same question. And that question was, why hasn't the white community ever produced a Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm.
And more specifically, I asked the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha, a fraternity that Dr. King joined.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in 1929 in the beginning of Reconstruction, and obviously his ministry after Emmett Till in 1955 and Rosa Parks sitting down on the bus in December of that year, and Rosa Parks answering the question, why did you sit down and not get up? She said, because Emmett Till was on my mind.
Mm.
And Martin Luther King Jr. then came to her rescue with the Montgomery bus boycott and to obviously national and international promise. All of those ministers and those theologians said, because white privilege does not allow them to create a Martin Luther King Jr., that our leadership comes from bottom up. It comes from a people who've known minority status, who've had their back against the wall. And so I shared with them that I came to their fraternal meeting looking for the next Martin Luther King. Because as Second Reconstruction comes to an end, and many people are concerned that we could very well be entering some new form of Jim Crow before a Third Reconstruction eventually presents itself, therein lies an opportunity from our community to bring forward leadership that provides that hope, that bridge, that language of Jesse Jackson, that language of Barack Obama, that language of Martin Luther King Jr., and the absence of that bridge does matter to our struggle. George? I know you're not just gonna sit there frozen and look at me like I'm crazy. I think George is frozen. George, are you there? Okay. I think George Wilbon, his technology is frozen. But I do want to stress the significance and the importance of the query that I raised with the brothers from Alpha Phi Alpha. Martin Luther King Jr. was a world historic figure. We've never been able to reproduce a figure quite like Martin Luther King Jr. And for that figure, words mattered. He understood that they connoted certain meanings and they denoted certain meanings. Words mattered. On the occasion when I spoke to the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha, I shared with them that when he delivered the I Have a Dream speech on August 28th, 1963, I didn't realize until I was researching for that speech that Emmett Till was killed in 1955 on August 28th. The organizers of the March on Washington, the March for Jobs and Justice, Bayard Rustin, James Baldwin, Martin Luther King Jr., A. Philip Randolph, and others who participated in making that march so historic and so extraordinary. It's become known as the I Have a Dream March or the I Have a Dream speech, but it really was a march for jobs and justice. And Dr. King was one of the invited speakers. The purpose of the march was to address the economic crisis. But those organizers had enough sense to recognize the importance of the anniversary of the death of Emmett Till when they chose the date that they decided to have the March on Washington. And it is from the spirit of the death of Emmett Till that Martin Luther King Jr. offered a vision of hope, of opportunity, of a mountaintop, of a nation that had been cast aside and a people that had been left behind, and he brought them forward with a new vision. George Wilbon, we only have a couple of more minutes, but I certainly like your thoughts. I'd like your thoughts. I can't hear you. I think you're muted, George.
The devil is a liar. That's what I said. The devil is a liar. He see what we doing here. You see that you got to stay on your toes, Jesse.
Man, I'm gonna get you a laptop, but I sure appreciate your flexibility. Hey, George, give me your final thoughts on the significance of the role of Martin Luther King Jr.
I think as a black man who had the honor of performing on almost every continent of this earth and being able to relieve stress and have the meetings of the most incredible people and gone to some of the most incredible places that a person could imagine. Black kid from the south side of Chicago, being able to reach some of the things that I've accomplished and God willing, some of the things that I'm going to accomplish all stand on the shoulders of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. None of those things, none of these jokes, none of the radio that I've done and the comedy and the traveling, none of that would have been possible without the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And for me and my family and my peers, that'll always be something that I'm proud of and that I'll always try to live up to the standard of character of a man like that. I think it's important, and I think it's important to continue to show that through actions.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. My very special guest today has been George Wilborn, who I hope will be a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. George, thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you, Jesse Jr. I appreciate you, brother.
Our prayers continue to go out to the people of Los Angeles. If there's anything that we can do, please reach out to us at KBLA. We'd like to use this vehicle to help bring families together, to encourage firefighters, and to bring the people of Los Angeles and the state together. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Until we come forward next time.
KBLA 1580.